The Jimmy IV Sexy Cool Lounge is an inspirational podcast spreading positive energy and only good vibes into the universe through personal discovery, empowerment, and self-love awareness. Now, please join me in the Sexy Cool Lounge with our creator and host, Jimmy IV.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, wherever you might be listening to this episode. And may your vibe be cruising at an altitude that is so sexy cool. So as always, y'all, before every episode, right? If you are new to the Sexy Cool Lounge, thank you. Thank you for giving us some of your time and some of your just energy on this journey through the universe, right? And allowing us to just give you some positive vibes as you go along, right? So if you are so inclined, please go back and check out any one of our episodes between 1 and 94, with this being episode number 95, right? Almost to 100, y'all. You can check us out over at the website at www.sexycoollounge.com. You're more than welcome to follow the podcast on any one of our podcast platforms. And if you're on social media, Instagram, give us a follow at Sexy Cool Lounge. On Facebook, y'all know you can always find me, send me a request, and I will definitely accept. And the good news for 2023 is, you guessed it, Sexy Cool Lounge has its own channel on YouTube. Y'all need to go on over there and check out my face for a little bit as y'all listen to my voice. Hit that little bell and make sure you follow all of the notifications for anything coming up on the YouTube page, all right? All right, we have now gotten housekeeping out of the way, and we are ready to rock and roll with episode number 95. So I have a really good friend that I want to bring into the studio because she's doing some really, really positive things, man. And she is really shining her voice in a way that I just wanted to kind of bring it to the forefront. So before I introduce her, let me tell you a little bit about what she is and who she is, right? She is a mother. She is a fellow podcaster, all right? Her podcast is called Unapologetically Overcoming, all right? And let me tell you a little bit about what that is. Her podcast is about overcoming the stigmas that society places on us in so many different ways. Her mission is helping to put face with so many of those labels society has created and normalize talking about difficult experiences and helping people recognize that they are not alone on their journey, right? So I need you guys to give a warm welcome and an easy listening ear to Miss Jess Marie. Jess, how are you doing today?
I am wonderful. How are you?
Everything is all good over here. Everything is very cool. Thank you for coming in and giving us some of your time.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
All good. So you know how this works. Before we even get started, and first question out of the gate is, Jess, what does sexy cool mean to you?
Love this question so much. To me, it means really just owning who you are, and loving all that you are. Every part of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it.
Well, there you go. You know, the beautiful thing about that question is I can ask it a million times, and I have probably at this point. But the really cool thing is that I never get the same answer twice, right? And it's all really on the perspective of the person who's giving the answer, which is why I asked that question, because it's so unique and everybody's perspective is so unique. So thank you so much for leaving your footprint on that question. And let's get into why you were here. So, you know, I started following you because of how you were presenting yourself, not only on your podcast, but just on social media feeds. And I really was fascinated by how you interact and how you kind of present the package of the stigmas that society kind of places on us. And I really thought about it, and I was like, you know, I got to have her on the show to just really deep dive with me on that. So before we get into that, tell my listeners a little bit about yourself and how you came to be where you are now, which is helping others on their journey as well.
So, like you said, I'm a mom. I'm a single mom to a teenage son. I work in the field of social services. I work with the homeless population. So kind of helping people in my career. But my journey through life has not always been so easy. And specifically, kind of the shift came for me after ending a long-term relationship. And prior to that happening, like when I look back, I don't think I realized when it was going on, but I was a very angry, very negative person. All of the bad things that could happen felt like they were happening to me. And kind of the slogan of my life was like, if I didn't have bad luck, I'd have no luck. So I was kind of stuck in that for a very, very, very long time. And then after that relationship ended, I don't know, I can't pinpoint exactly what it was, but there was some sort of a shift where I realized that living life like negative and miserable and like mad at the world all the time was not the way to be living. So a lot of it had to do with mindset, waking up every day and finding something, even if it's the smallest thing, to be grateful for, finding the positive things in even the worst situation, because I know sometimes you don't always realize it, but there is a positive that comes out of negative situations. And, I really just started to shift the way that I approached people and situations and being a parent, like all of the things, to focus on the good and the positive. And then once I really started doing that, more positive things and good things started coming into my life. So you really don't realize it until you experience that. But like you really do attract what you put out. So if you're always putting out negative and anger and all that stuff, that's what's going to be drawn to you. But when you switch it and attract, the positive things, it's because you're thinking positively. You're putting good out and you're getting that good back.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer of, what you radiate out is exactly what the universe is going to give you back.
Absolutely.
And I think there are times when we really don't want to self-reflect on ourselves, right? We're so quick to always want to point the finger at something that happened to us, right? And I'm not saying that sometimes things out of our own control happen to us, okay? I'm not saying that. What I am saying is sometimes there are things that we do internally to sabotage ourselves, okay? And we really don't want to look at that, because to look at that means that we don't really like what we see in the mirror. So we're always in that position, or sometimes we're always in a position to deflect and have an excuse as to why something happened to us, rather than, as you said, take a look at the mindset. Take a look at, what am I doing? If I'm feeling this way, what am I doing to try to change this, versus I'm expecting it to just change on its own, right? Am I hearing you correctly with that?
Absolutely. Yep.
So when you actually did that, then you started to have a different vibrational frequency, and then the universe kind of responded in suit, right?
Absolutely.
Can you talk about that for a little bit? Because maybe there's some people who are hearing what we're saying right now, but they don't really understand how to have that mind shift, even if it's just on the baby step level.
Yeah. I mean, I think the first thing that people need to understand is it's not something that happens immediately. Like I didn't just wake up one day and everything was positive and everything was great. It's a practice. Like it took a long time for it to kind of make the switch, and for me to also recognize what was actually happening. But I will say that one of my family members had played a huge part in it. So her and her husband used to do this daily Facebook Live video every single day. They did it for 365 days straight. And they would get up and do this video and talk about something they were grateful for, something that inspired them, and then they would set a goal for the day. So I started watching these videos every day and also started thinking about those things kind of just in my head. But then I started writing them down. So every morning I get up, even still to this day, it's been over a year now since they stopped doing those videos. And I still have my journals that I get up every day and I write in. And I think that was the big key thing that kind of helped me, because I was able to look at the things that I was writing and see, again, even on those bad days, that there was still something to be grateful for. And then, focusing on some sort of inspirational quote or message that resonated with me to kind of remind me that sometimes, even in the bad moments, there's good. And then the other thing too, with the goal part, again, doesn't have to be some huge goal that you set for the day. It could be something as simple as folding the laundry. Being able to check something off your to-do list, it feels good, even when it's the smallest things, So those are kind of the things that helped me, is just taking those moments, even when they seem like they're few and far between, to pause and really think about what's going on and, how you can use that for you instead of against you.
Share with my listeners and I about the importance of accountability. You say that you keep the journal, and even to this day, like when you're on this different side of your mentality, you're still doing the things that got you over to this side to this day. So if you could just share with us how important accountability to yourself, not accountability to someone else, but internal accountability to yourself. Can you just share some thoughts with us on that, please?
Yeah. I think accountability for yourself is sometimes a really hard thing for people to accept, whether it be good or bad. Typically, sometimes when you do something, that someone might consider bad or wrong, it's harder sometimes to take accountability for those things. But I really believe that we're human. We make mistakes. None of us are perfect. None of us are going to have good days every single day. So being able to recognize that mistakes are part of life, bad things happening are part of life. Sometimes even if we are inadvertently the cause of the bad things, it's really important, to recognize the role that you play in that, especially when it comes to your own life, because at the end of the day, you're really the only one who has control over your life. So, it comes down to you and, you taking that accountability for the good things, the bad things, the in-between things, all the things.
I think for me, part of that accountability is the maturity
Yes.
part. We can be whatever age we want to be, and we can call ourselves adults when it's always convenient to call ourselves adults. But also being an adult and being mature is to understand when you're wrong, or understand when you need to hold yourself accountable without excuses.
Yeah.
And also the growth part. Okay. We're human, and yes, we make mistakes, and we should be learning from our mistakes. And some of us learn a little faster than others. And some of us, it takes a minute to learn a lesson. But the point I'm making is that if we're going to hold ourselves accountable, then we have to be at a place where we can self-reflect and be honest with that self-reflection, to the point to where that self-reflection, or that being or taking criticism, when we make a mistake or whatever, and being able to use it for growth, and not to feel like someone is attacking us because they're calling us out on something that we did, that we should learn from, admit our mistake, and then grow from. Correct? Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah, definitely. And I think sometimes too, because when you talk about criticism, people do usually take that in a bad way, even when it's supposed to be constructive criticism. I think we need that type of feedback so that we can take a step back and see where could I do better? Or where could I change this, or tweak this, and that sort of thing. Criticism is not a bad thing.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree with that. So I want to help understand the helping of other people on their journey through the stigmas. Talk to me about some of those common stigmas that society places on us, that we then have challenges with.
So many. I mean, the one that immediately comes to my mind is mental health. A lot of times, I mean, there's tons of stigmas related to mental health. And, when we talk about that topic in particular, it's like there's stigmas related to therapy, there's stigmas related to medication. There's, all sorts of those things. And it's like if you need to seek out therapy or medication, you're weak, which is totally not true. Like doing those things makes you really strong because you're recognizing that you're having a hard time and you need some extra help. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind. And I think a lot of times it just has to do with other people thinking certain things. And like we kind of perpetuate that throughout life. So now we've gotten to a point where so many people are so stuck in their thoughts and ways because of the things that the people before them have kind of instilled in them that it's hard to break out of that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I think one of the stigmas that we all can kind of relate to, whether it's something from ourselves or a loved one, or just in media, the last year or 2 or 3 years, if you want to, and that's the mental health. We've seen it with athletes. We've seen it with politicians. We've seen it in every normal daily life that it's, mental health and mental awareness is something that we are now, as a society, in my opinion, is starting to take more seriously than, let's just say, 10 years ago.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So when you start talking about stigmas, I think that's one of the first ones that come to mind for me is that, years ago, we looked at the mental health part as just like, I guess you would kind of brush it off, so to speak. Now it's taken very seriously in corporations and businesses. Athletes are getting time off to, handle mental awareness issues and things like that. So yeah, I totally understand what you're saying about the stigmatisms of how society can place things on us. And then we now have that challenge of trying to remove that as we move on in our journey in our daily lives. So absolutely. I really appreciate you explaining that to us and bringing that to the forefront. So as you kind of help people, what are some of the things that you're doing that you can share with us that are tips that we can use in our daily lives, either to become more aware of our vibrational frequency, or if it's something that if we can be aware of someone, a loved one, a friend, or maybe a coworker who might be struggling, that we can maybe help identify something to steer them in the right direction?
So there's two things that really come to mind when you ask that question. The first thing is I just encourage people to talk about the things that they're going through. Whether it be with a friend, a family member, therapist, literally anybody that you think you could talk to, I would say talk, because the more that you talk about things, I think the more we start to realize that we're not alone in what we're going through. And there's something powerful about knowing that you're not alone, because a lot of times, because of those stigmas, I think a lot of us think we are alone in certain things that we've gone through. So that would be the first thing. And then the second thing kind of plays into that is listen when people are talking to you. Sometimes people don't always want feedback. They really just need someone to listen to them. And that's something that I've really learned to do more in the last couple of years. I'm a talker, so I love to talk. And when somebody comes to me and they want to like vent about something, I now find myself asking them, like, do you just need me to listen or do you want feedback? Because sometimes people don't want feedback. And if you're constantly like, well, you should do this, or why don't you do this? That might discourage them from coming to you again because they don't really want to hear that. They just need to get something off their chest and felt heard.
And if I can add maybe just one more to that bit of information, sometimes people don't want to feel like you're minimizing what they're sharing with you. So to your point, absolutely right. Ask, are you looking to just vent with me and I'll be here as a sounding board? Or do you want to share with me something so I can maybe give you an outside opinion on it? You know what I'm saying? Because the moment someone shares something and they're feeling like what they're sharing with you, which is their feelings about something, it's either being minimized or maybe dismissed, then they're going to be very reluctant to want to share with you in the future. And that's defeating the purpose in helping them on their journey. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah, definitely. Because it takes a lot of vulnerability to share, especially when we're talking about topics that have stigmas related to them. Like those are even harder to share. So people need to know that they can talk to you and not feel like you're minimizing or dismissing or judging them, you know? And I mean, I've had a lot of my friends say to me, like, they know they can tell me certain things because I don't judge them. Like, who am I to judge them or anyone, you know? Like, so they know that, you know, I'm a safe person to talk to about anything and everything because I will listen if that's what they want me to do. And if they want feedback, I'll give them feedback, but I'm also not going to judge them. So that's important too.
So let's not judge. Let's be a sounding board, and let's be very supportive of their feelings and respectful of their feelings. Am I hearing that right?
Yes, definitely.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, Miss Jess, if anybody wants to follow you, if anybody wants to have a conversation with you, if anybody wants to use you as a sounding board, okay, now I've got a big audience. So if you start getting some emails and, you know,
It's
Facebook
okay.
requests and some Instagram, so I'm just saying, you
It
put it
is
out
okay.
there.
They are not alone. I am here.
So if anybody wants to stay in touch, or if they want to continue to vibe on your podcast, okay, how can we find the podcast? Tell everybody where we can find you, where we can stay in touch and just continue to resonate on your vibrational frequency moving forward.
So the podcast right now is on Podbean, and you can search Unapologetically Overcoming on there. I am working on getting it on some other platforms, so stay tuned for that because hopefully it's coming sooner rather than later. And then I do have an Instagram for the podcast, and that is unapologetically_overcoming. And then I do also have a Facebook page for the podcast, which is Unapologetically Overcoming the Podcast. And I would love for anybody and everybody to come follow me. Send me a message anytime. I will get back to you as soon as I can.
And for anybody that is resonating with this information, don't worry about it if you didn't write it down. It will be provided in the show notes. So you'll be able to definitely stay in touch with Jess on all of her social platforms and things like that. She is really doing some positive things and she's helping people in a positive way. And that is exactly what we do here at the Sexy Cool Lounge. So, Ms. Jess, it has been a pleasure having you in today. This will not be the last time that you're here. And I hope that everything goes well with the podcast. I hope that you continue to spread some positive energy and good vibes only around the universe through your voice, mission, and platform. And I'm so proud of everything that you're doing. And thank you for giving us some of your time today.
Thank you so much. It was really my pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you very much. And family, as I've always said to you guys, remember to love yourself enough to radiate your vibe. And let's never forget, even though we do not have as much as others, man, we still have more than others. So let's continue to put good vibes into this universe so we can always get good vibes back. I'm Jimmy IV. I love you guys, and I will see you on the next episode.